Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And Norman Solomon is in the studio with us, political activist, founding director of the Institute for Public Accuracy, author of your most recent book, Made Love, Got War, Close Encounters with America's Warfare State. The website, Norman Solomon, as you would expect it to be spelled, NormanSolomon.com. And Norman, welcome back to the program.
Great to be here. Thanks, Tom.
It's always great having you with us. Your most recent article I thought was fascinating. Why Snowden's passport matters. First of all, what are we talking about here? Presumably, Edward Snowden's U.S. passport has been pulled, right, by the U.S. government.
Yeah, about the time that he got to Moscow, Secretary of State Kerry pulled it, canceled it, and that has basically made him a resident of Russia, whether he really wants to stay there or not. Of course,
it's made him a stateless person.
Yeah, absolutely. And meanwhile, he's trashed for taking refuge in Russia, which is where basically he was when he became a stateless person. So actually, the group I'm with, rootsaction.org, has put up a website called supportedwardsnowden.org, and 28,000 people have gone there already to personally send an email to Secretary of State Kerry saying, give the guy his passport back. I mean, he hasn't been convicted of any crime. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was visiting Russia when it was the Soviet Union, one of the talking points from the U.S. was how bad they were. They wouldn't let people travel. Now,
right.
So go figure.
Right. Although if you want to go to Cuba, I mean, you'll experience a little bit of that here in the United States as well. We don't have total bragging rights, although we're a heck of a lot better than North Korea.
Yeah, we've high jumped over that low bar. I think it's fascinating as well that the U.S. news media didn't make a big deal in even the medium term about the fact that the U.S. government got Italy, Spain, Portugal, and France to basically deny airspace to a Latin American president on the off chance that Edward Snowden was on the plane coming out of Moscow. And again, right. I take that as a metaphor. We run the world. The USA not only has the right to wiretap, eavesdrop, read everybody's text messages, but now we get to decide how presidents from different countries fly home.
Right. U.S. empire. Well, we didn't just, we grounded the airplane of, what was his name? The president of
Evo Morales.
Evo Morales. Yeah.
Yes.
And which is mind-boggling when you think about it.
Yeah, the arrogance of power, the hubris, which we've seen, and I'm afraid that just the breaking news in the last day, you mentioned earlier in the program, James Clapper and Keith Alexander just testified in Capitol Hill. Their credibility is perhaps -0 at this point, given Clapper's lying record in front of a congressional committee earlier this year. And we're also getting all of this damage control coming from the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Dianne Feinstein. These folks are trying to retrench, to staunch the bleeding of credibility, but I don't think it's going to work. In the last few hours, the Washington Post just broke another story based on the Snowden documents showing that every day the NSA is tapping into millions of emails through Yahoo and Google data centers overseas and siphoning them off.
Now, over at Politico, there's a headline. I haven't read the article. I saw the headline that said NSA pushes back and denies that they have access to Google Mail.
Yeah, I think that the head of the NSA gives weasel words an understatement status, because when you parse what these folks are saying when they go to Capitol Hill or go in front of the cameras, every week it turns out you go back a few weeks and they were lying in the worst way that lawyers lie.
Yeah. Lies of omission rather than commission.
Absolutely. Depends on what the definition of is in terms of, is we respecting the First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment, for instance.
Right, yeah. But let's get back to Ed Snowden's passport. I find this fascinating. It seems to me that the most important part of the story is the part that has not been covered at all, to the best of my knowledge, in the mainstream media in the United States. We've had a couple conversations about it on this program and on our TV show, but and that is that the Soviet Union, or what used to be Russia, forgive me, my age is showing. Russia is the only country in the world that has a nuclear capability that is parallel to ours, or roughly similar to ours. The only country in the world, or one of probably fewer than 8 or 9 countries in the world, that the United States would never in their wildest dreams imagine dropping a drone bomb onto. it seems to me that that Snowden was not safe in Hong Kong, and he felt that he had to go someplace where he would be safe, that he never was trying to get to Ecuador, because if Evo Morales was deposed, and we would make sure that happened really fast. I was in Venezuela the first time they did a coup against what's his name, who died recently, man.
Oh, yeah.
Hugo Chavez. Thank you. Brain farts are terrible things. Anyway, if he was in a small South American country, he would not have the guarantee of some kind of long-term stability. He's now protected by, thousands of nuclear weapons, essentially. Is it really, has it gotten that bad that a whistleblower needs to have that kind of a protector? And Putin hasn't even come out and said he's his protector. In fact, he said, this guy's got to tone down his activity or I'm going to kick him out of the country. Isn't that really a conversation we should be having?
Oh, absolutely. The layers of irony there are mind-blowing. And the fact is that an autocratic country, which is not within the U.S. government sphere of domination, was almost the only place on the planet that one could imagine, as you say, that Snowden could go and stay and be reasonably secure from a drone strike or being snatched by SEAL forces or whatever. And if he'd gone almost anywhere in Latin America through a democratic process or otherwise, he would have been a lot more vulnerable to suddenly becoming persona non grata. I think we've seen that the Obama administration, perhaps in the empire tradition of the U.S. government, has no compunction. Again, diverting and forcing the landing of Evo Morales' plane as a sovereign head of a sovereign government. And I think this goes to this deep question. When you look at Capitol Hill, you look at the Democratic Party leadership, and I speak as a Democrat. I was an Obama delegate in 2008 to the Democratic National Convention. You got Dianne Feinstein chairing the Intelligence Committee. You've got Nancy Pelosi, the minority leader in the House. You've got the entire Democratic leadership in the Senate and House running interference for the surveillance state and the warfare state under this White House. And for those of us who consider ourselves to be progressives and Democrats, that is a challenge that we need a principled, methodical, pragmatic insurrection against the leadership of this party.
And yet this has been going on since the Johnson administration in a big way. There was the argument made back in the 60s that the war in Vietnam was all about making money for the contractors. And in fact, there was I don't know if it was true or not, but I remember the story in The Realist, I think it was, Paul Kresser's publication, which more often than not was satire, about how Lady Bird Johnson was a partner in Bird Construction, which was building Air Force bases in Vietnam. And, whether that was true or not, there was a hell of a lot of money being made building Air Force bases in Vietnam, and that money was being channeled back into Democratic and Republican politicians.
Yeah, well, as it was said by Tom Lehrer, the satirist, when Henry Kissinger won the Nobel Peace Prize, satire often becomes impossible, and that was an instance. Reality outpaces it. But I think it's fair to say, since the Johnson administration, the Democratic Party leadership has moved steadily rightward in terms of economic policy, no question, as you've documented for years on this program, and foreign policy. Been a warfare party for many decades, but the intelligence state now, the absolute contempt for the Bill of Rights.
Well, 70% of the NSA is outsourced. It seems to me that we're talking really about Eisenhower's warning about the military-industrial complex.
Yes.
And when you take that concern and you marry it with, or pair it with the Supreme Court coming up with this doctrine, which never existed in American law, that corporations are persons, and more importantly, that money is not property, it's speech, then we have this ongoing slow-motion disaster. And I think that's really a cancer at the core of it. And I know your organization,
RootsAction.org. Yeah, I'd like to invite everybody listening to go to our website, to take action, to be part of our action arm. We now have 400,000 members. You can go to rootsaction.org.
Great. Norman Solomon. Thank you, Norman.
Thanks.